All right, so we're going to talk about one of the secrets in our 7 Secrets of Money Management course, and we're going to really give away all the rules and show you exactly how to trade using money management secret number 3. All right, and what exactly is that secret? Well, you should never use discretion when deciding your position size. It is absolutely the worst thing in the world you can do. But I would say that the majority of all traders use discretion when they're deciding how much to trade. They're either going to say, well, my account is too small, I'll only trade one lot. Or else they'll say, you know, I woke up feeling really lucky today. I'm going to really bet the farm tonight, and I think I'm going to do really well. I feel great about it. Or maybe they said, well, you know what, I've been on a lucky streak. I'm getting a little bit frightened that it's going to end very soon, so I'll scale down, and instead of trading, 2 or 3 lots, I'll trade 1 contract at the most. So it's all discretionary. There's no real plan, no rhyme or reason. It's really motivated by your emotions and your feelings. Let's take this for example. Here's an older chart in the Swiss franc, all right? And this was an actual signal that was generated and given to our members. It was a short here, so this was our entry point to go short. And as you can see, the trade worked out very well. So we would have made some nice money on this. But when you use discretion, when you make it too subjective, how many contracts or lots should you be trading? Would you be only trading 1, 2, or 3? All right. So many times you'll have a really nice trading plan, but you're not getting up to that level of consistency because you're out of sync with the number of contracts or lots or share size you should be trading. All right. So this introduces our RPS method. This is usually reserved for the members of our money management course, but we're going to share this with you in its entirety for figuring out how to come up with the exact number of contracts or lots you should be trading for the Forex market. This is a simple mathematical formula that automatically decides how many shares or lots to trade. See, remember we said we want to take away the discretion, we want to take away the subjectivity, and make you empowered with the decision-making process. So if you use this method, it will automatically decide for you, depending on the calculation and all of the variables that you input into this. Now, let me just say this right off the bat. I know a lot of people may say, well, Steve, you said to keep it simple, a mathematical formula. This is getting a little complicated. How can I, in the heat of the moment of trading, come up with this mathematical formula every time? Trust me, it may seem a little wordy as I explain it to you right now. You may want to write this down. But after a while, after some good practice, it'll be extremely simple. You can calculate this in a matter of seconds after a little practice, okay? All right, so here's what we want to do first of all. We want to calculate risk with our percentage of capital. This is probably the most important thing. So what we have to do is we must start with an adequate amount of capital. This is another reason why traders lose. They're either under or overcapitalized because they're just as dangerous. Overcapitalized will give you a false sense of security, thinking that you can bet the farm. And undercapitalized will not give you enough to be able to actually trade. So what you want to do is keep these benchmarks. Now remember, these are not in any way something that I'm saying that you have to have, but these are just benchmarks. In other words, if you're going to be trading Forex markets and the large contracts or the large lots, you should have, in my opinion, anywhere from 15 to 25,000 to hold positions overnight. Okay? Because you're going to be holding positions overnight. If you're going to be day trading and not holding positions overnight or getting in and out very quickly, maybe, 10 or 15,000 would suffice. Now, if you're going to be trading the mini lots, which are, substantially much less expensive, well, then you can start out with anywhere from 5 to 10 or 15,000, okay? So it all depends on what market you're trading and it all depends on what style you're trading. Now we want to calculate the percentage of risk per trade. In other words, this means per trade, how much are we going to risk? And we don't mean risk on the actual trade. We mean of our capital. So let's say if we have a $10,000 trading account, we're trading the mini account. All right, we're only going to risk a benchmark of 2%, which comes out to $200 per trade. All right, so this is our benchmark. Now, I know some traders, myself included, usually only risk 1%. Some traders, some hedge fund managers risk half of 1%. Now, we want to keep this benchmark at 2% because this will give you enough time if you go into a series of losing trades, at least you won't lose everything. But what most people do is they'll risk maybe 5, even 10% of their entire account. So if you have a $10,000 account, some people may be risking $1,000, sometimes even up to $2,000 per trade. Well, you have 5 losing trades, you're out. You've blown your whole capital. So we want to keep it to 2%, all right? Especially if you're just beginning. Keep it to 2, possibly even 1%. Now, if you're extremely conservative, you'll want to include slippage or the spread in that. In other words, the number of pips you're on your spread on average, say it's 3 to 5 pips, something like that. So you want to include that as well as your commission, if you'd like to as well. So these are all things you have to take into account prior to actually even trading. Remember, you must have an adequate amount of capital. You must only risk anywhere from 1 to 2% per trade, and that's 2% of your capital. And then you might want to take the slippage or the spread or even the commission into that account as well. All right, so let's start out with the RPS method. You may want to write this down. I'm not sure if FXStreet is recording this. They're usually very good of later posting these on YouTube as well. But if you want this right now, you can write this down. Remember, it may be a little wordy in the beginning. It may be a little complicated to you. But don't worry, after some practice, this will be extremely easy to use. I can usually calculate this in a matter of seconds prior to a trade. All right, here's the formula now, the RPS method formula. The first thing we want to do, rule number 1, is we want to determine the 2% risk amount of your capital. Remember, this is the benchmark. It could be 1%. It could be 1.5%. Just make sure that you really don't want to risk more than 2% of your amount of capital. So if you have $100,000 to work with, well, you're only going to risk $2,000 per trade at the most. If you have $10,000 to work with, you're only going to be risking $200 per trade. Okay. Next, you want to decide your stop placement. This could be a recent high or recent low. In our 7 Secrets of Money Management course, we give you roughly 5 to 7 different stop placement levels. So you want to decide which one that you're going to be using on this particular trade. Now, rule number 3, let's say you're stopped out. Let's say the trade does not work out in your favor. What would be the total dollar amount that you lost per contract or per lot? Not the number of pips you lost, but the total dollar amount. In other words, how many dollars that transferred over onto. All right? So, rule number 4 is now that we know our 2% of whatever we're risking, which is the dollar amount, we're going to divide our 2% dollar risk amount by your total stopped out dollar amount. In other words, whatever 2% of our account is, let's say we got stopped out on this. Well, we want to divide that, okay, by the total dollar loss on our amount. And then this will give us a number. We're going to round off to the nearest number for our proper position size. All right? That's how we come up with the formula. Once again, I know you may say, boy, this is a little bit complicated. I don't really understand this. I'm going to show you a lot of examples now. I'm going to break it down into a formula so that you can really easily understand it. All right, here is the RPS position sizing formula. R equals 2% risk amount of your capital. This is in dollar form, okay? This is a simple way to copy this down. So R will equal 2% risk amount of your capital. All right, so you have to figure out exactly how much capital you have to work with, and you're only going to risk 2% of that and put that in a dollar amount. P equals the pip dollar loss if you're stopped out. So if you're stopped out and you lose 50 pips, what does that transfer over into dollars? Okay? Now we simply divide R by P, and this gives us S, or the size or number of lots to trade. See how simple that is? RPS method. I'll give you a second to write that down if you'd like. Remember, if you have any questions, just hold them off to the very end, and I promise I'll go over everything at the very end, just so that we don't lose momentum. But it's very simple. R divided by P equals S. R equals 2% of our risk amount. P equals the pip dollar loss if we're stopped out. So we simply divide R by P, and this gives us S, or the size or the number of lots to trade.